Stop me if you've heard this one. I want you to imagine a train. A train careening down the tracks, out of control, a real soul asylum situation. And at the end of this train, there are 5 people tied to the tracks. You are sitting next to a lever. You can save them if you pull that lever. That lever will change the tracks and that careening train will careen to another track. But on that track is a single person. Do you pull the lever? Do you save the 5 to sacrifice the 1? Most people will pull the lever. It's better to be directly responsible for the death of 1 than maybe indirectly responsible to the death of 5. But let's change it up a little bit. No longer is it a lever. Now it's a fat guy. A fat guy just fat enough to derail that train. Don't worry, there's no one on the train. Just fat enough to derail that train, and you are just strong enough to push them over. Do you do it? Most people will not, because now the effort to do so is more, and you're not going to do that. Now that is what is known in philosophies, for those of you who have seen The Good Place, as the trolley problem. Now, the fun part comes whenever we start changing the people. So no longer is it 5 randos, now it's 5 family members. Now no longer is the fat guy a random stranger, it's Santa Claus. Now no longer is the one person who you're trying not to kill is a random stranger, it's now you from an alternate timeline. Imagine how fun this could be if someone made it into a game. And then I want you to keep on imagining. Trial by Trolley, a party game of moral dilemmas and trolley murder by Cyanide and Happiness, Happy Games, and then whoever other people made Cyanide and Happiness, is a party game in which you and a handful of your closest friends do just that. Let's go to the floor to see what's up. All right, so here's our train, here's our trolley. What track are they going to go down? So on your turn, every player is going to play 2 cards to their side, so it might be a young artist drawing their first masterpiece, and then your entire family. And then on the other side, the other teams will be playing a beloved children's book author, and what else? Enough food to feed all the starving kids on Earth. So before this, everyone is split into 2 teams, and there is a conductor or a judge. Yeah, it's one of those kind of games. And then after you have played the 2 things that you think will save you, everyone plays an evil card to the other side. So for example, an Al-Qaeda operative and a horrifying Lisa Frank nightmare monster. We'll get to that in a second. And then at this point, everyone can kind of argue, and then they will play modifiers. Each team can play a modifier on a single person. Just peed in a crowded swimming pool. Well, who did that? Oh, that woman right there. And then maybe the other person can go, nuh-uh, nuh-uh. It's been stalking you since preschool. Who has been stalking you since preschool? I don't know, your entire family probably. And then the judge has a decision to make. Which way does he go? Which way does he go? You argue back and forth, you have a good time, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and kill my entire family! And if you're on this team, you get a death token. And then the person who has the most death tokens at the end of the game loses, I think, and everyone maybe wins, and that's the game. Everyone goes around till they are the conductor once. And booyah. And that is everything. So, what do I like about the game? This little trolley is really nice. The board is 2-sided, boom, and then death. You don't have to play with the board, but I'm gonna play with the board because I have it. And the Derailed edition doesn't come with all the minis that are actually kind of pointless. They're just kind of there, and it comes with a bunch of cards. So let's talk about the cards. A game like this lives and dies based on the types of cards that it has, and this has a metric fuck ton of cards. You have heard the old adage, quality over quantity. And the quality of these cards are very nice. The quantity of these cards, a fuck ton. But the quality of those quantity of what's on the cards is not great. These kind of games live and die by the cards in the game, and they think that if they give you enough cards, that eventually it will be funny. So I played this with my family, and we'll talk about that in a second, but the main gripe that came up is at least one person at the table every turn. And then towards the end of the game, multiple people said the phrase that you never want to hear in one of these kind of games. I have nothing in my hand. What does that mean? Well, these kind of games are your apples to apples, your cyanide and happiness joking hazard like they have, or your big black one, Cards Against Humanity. You never want to have a handful of cards and go, none of this is funny, none of this is good. You want to have an abundance, and they think that if they give you this abundance, that you're going to have plenty to play. But that's the problem. There are ways that you can like cycle out, but there's not a lot of funny stuff in here. This game is made for a very specific type of person, and we will talk about that once we get done with some housekeeping. It is for 3 to 13 people. It's better with an odd number because you want to try to split the teams evenly, even though it says you don't have to split the teams evenly. Ages 14 and up, yeah, there's probably some fucks and some, 14 and up's fine. And then 15 plus minutes, yes, it does go by pretty quick, thank the Lord. So here's my problem. The very specific person this is made for is basically this times as many people as you have. This is not a game that is for everyone. It says ages 14 and up, but if you're 14 years old, do you know who Lisa Frank is? I was playing with one of our friendly families, and I looked over to her and I go, Amy, quick question. Do you know what this is? And I showed her one of the cards that said the DMV. And she had no idea what the DMV was because kids don't know what the DMV is. There's a couple of things in here. There's ones that I thought was really, really funny. The funniest one that I saw was William Shakespeare before he wrote anything good. And I'm like, okay, that's funny. But then we have some very specific things in here. A kitten cuddling with a dog. That's fine. Scientists racing to warn everyone about an impending disaster. Like we'd listen to them. Group of voluntary people cleaning up the tracks. And then you just have like, oh, this is like children's beloved TV show. That's clearly supposed to be Barney. No one knows who Barney is anymore. It's just, there's some of these are really random, like the Nickelback. Like, do kids even know who Nickelback is? I don't think they do. Your Best Friend? Who's ever even heard of that? Batman issue #1, mint condition? A 15-year-old's not gonna fucking care about that. You know who's gonna care about that? A bunch of fucking, between the ages of 38 and 41 maybe. If you graduated sometime between 1996 and 1999, this game is for you. As most of the people in my family did not, other than me, they didn't really get a kick out of it. It's not really one of those games that is super fun, oddly enough. I understand what they did. I understand what they were trying to do. And some of these cards, I believe, are genuinely funny. But I'm not playing with a whole bunch of me's. I'm playing with a bunch of people from the ages of 21 to, I don't know how fucking old they are, to my age. And my wife is, what, 4 years younger than me? However old that makes her. And some of these even were like, oh, when you play games like Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, you have the idea of the type of humor that person's gonna have. Like, oh, this person's gonna find this funny. This person's gonna find this funny. And some of that is here, but the main problem comes with the fact that the game is kind of confusing. Let me tell you about it. Now, these games mainly want you to be the one that is chosen. So, Cards Against Humanity, you're like, oh, me pooping back and forth forever, big black dick, all those things. You want to be the funniest one at the table. So you ha 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 and you get chosen and you win. This is different. You're trying to not get chosen. And when it comes to these kind of party games, you want the other person to die. But whenever you start laying down cards, you're like, oh, this will be really good. Oh, this will be really good. Oh, this will be really good to get chosen. There's a mental disconnect in this game that makes you think that, oh, I don't want to get chosen. I want to make the other person seem worse, but better. We are not a family of idiots, sans yo, but it's just, like I said, there's a disconnect between the type of game that this is and the type of game that this is in the genre of. So most games, you're trying to be the one picked, but in this one, you're trying not to. And that is a weird kind of thing to get around, almost to the point where I would want to house rule it and completely change the game to try to be the worst person at the table, to try to be the one that gets run over. Like, oh, I'm not trying to pick the lesser of two evils. I'm trying to make that person be as evil as possible. And here's how you do it. You kill Robo Hitler. Oh, he doesn't like his family. Let's put his entire family up there. And this kid who's been stalking him since he was a kid. I think that might make it more interesting, but I am not going to find out because Trial by Trolley, Derailed Edition, right here. I wanted this to be my go-to party game. Expectations were nya, and reality was nya. I would rather play any of the other types of party-style games, such as your Cards Against Humanity, even though I'm probably never going to play that game again. Their other game, Joking Hazard, is infinitely better than this. It's just a really good idea. See this? That's not really something that a kid's gonna know. And there's no lasting appeal to this. And I understand, oh, there's enough cards in there to give the variety for everyone, but if you're trying to please everyone, you're gonna end up pleasing no one. Trial by Trolley, Derailed Edition. I'm sorry to say you are out of my hard 100. Played you once with the family, didn't really enjoy you. I love the trolley problem as a philosophical thingy. Not my favorite, tell you what that is in a second. But still, it's a shame because I had the highest hopes. This was going to be my one and only party game that was going to take care of all of the party games when I needed 3 to 13 people. And now, because so many people were just like, I don't have anything to play, but you have a handful of 10 cards, doesn't really promote a really good message as far as how good your game is. And we had, what, 7 people at the table? So 70 cards out of your game that has this, and we cycled through a good chunk of them, and we still didn't have anything good to play. I'm sorry, Joking Hazard, or Cyanide, and whatever the fuck your name is. Maybe next time. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on this, the latest edition of the Hard 100. This might be right for your shelf. It is not right for mine, but it might be right for yours if you have 7 or 8 Billies laying around who understand the humor, or anyone in that time period, because this is directed and written for a very small group of people. Do not be dissuaded by, or do not be persuaded by the amount of cards and shit in this box, because it is not as good as it looks. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on this latest edition of the Hard 100. You want to know about my favorite philosophical quandary? Well, join me back there. I want you to imagine you have a ship, and this ship is made up of 100 planks. 100 planks on this ship, and every year a single plank gets destroyed and you have to replace it. You have been dubbed the Century Captain, and this is your century ship. This ship will last you for 100 years. At the end of your 100 years, you are an old dying pirate. You have replaced 1 plank on this ship every year for the past 100 years, and as you lay dying on your deathbed, about to pass your ship on to the next generation, you look your future captain dead in the eye and you tell them, this is yours now. I give you the same ship that I set sail off the coast of Tortuga all those years ago. And he looks you dead in the eye and says 2 simple words, plus another one. 3 simple words. Is it though? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I hope you and yours are well. Wash your goddamn hands. Peace out.